we can actually start since we have some people out there. Life has changed with this whole pandemic. It actually changed in a good way as well, because now we are forced to get out of our comfort and do something totally different. I mean, going online, it's totally different for me. So I'm going to start with, as you all know, our series is called Victim to Victor. And according to Google, Google says victim is a person who has come to feeling helpless and passive in the face of misfortune or ill treatment. And we're actually talking about how we can actually transition from the victim mindset to a victorious mindset. Victor, to me, is actually someone that overcomes all of these challenges. So our guest today is an Indian, Swedish, Scottish filmmaker and a qualified yoga leader who has arrived in Europe through transracial adoption when she was only 5 years old. She found yoga through a friend several years ago and is supporting others climbing the mountain or their mountain. She also helps her clients to restore balance inside out. So help me to welcome our guest speaker for today, our special guest that is. Her name is Naomi Mackay. So Naomi, welcome, and thank you so much for taking this opportunity, for gracing us with your presence and letting us into your life by giving us a sneak preview of who you are. If you want to expand on who is Naomi, please do so.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to be here. I really resonate with everything that you talk about when it comes to victim to victor, because at some point we need to become the masters of our own life. And so, sometimes that can be extremely hard. It actually has taken me 40 years to do so. And it sounds like it's very daunting especially if you're younger. It doesn't have to take that long. You just have to find what works for you, like I did. So I was adopted in the late 70s to a Swedish couple. I grew up in a very white society in the very south of Sweden. I didn't meet any Indian people from that I was about 5 years old until I moved to Scotland when I was 24. And to me, that was, it was undescribable, because a lot of us who aren't, well, a lot of you who aren't adopted, you can look at your parents or your siblings and resonate with how they behave and the way they look. And I had none of that, because even if you're an Indian and adopted to an Indian family, you can still recognize something in them. But with me, I had big bushy hair and big eyebrows, and I was very outgoing and very flamboyant when I was a child. And coming to Sweden is very controlled compared to India. India's got a lot of flavor, a lot of color, whereas Sweden is very organized. And you have to kind of fit into this box, and if you don't fit into this box, it's very difficult. And I always found it very hard to fit in, and I've always found it really hard to find my own identity. And I did decide when I was really young that I wanted to become a filmmaker. I saw Aristocats or Bambi with my grandmother at the cinema, and I just thought that's what I want to do. I want to create magic. The magic that I think I didn't really have in my life growing up, and something for other people to identify with. And so when I was 24, I came to a crossroads in my life where I basically had to choose between not wanting to be here anymore or leaving. And that is extremely difficult. I'm glad that I chose to live and that I chose to leave. I actually left when my parents were on holiday. And I left a note with them saying that I left and that I will be in touch. And even though it was such a hard thing to do, it was still the only thing for me that I could do to feel free. It's given me such an amazing opportunity to come here. Scotland is so opposite to what I grew up with. And Scotland is, maybe I got a piece of India in Scotland, because people are very welcoming into their families. I remember meeting my husband's mom for the first time. She'd never met me before, and she just hugged me, and it was the best hug I've ever had in my life. And it completely changed my life. So there'll always be this, I kind of see it as like a ladder. So you will go through these transitions and it takes time. But as you go, maybe you take one step up, maybe you take a few back, but always, always know that whatever you choose to do next will move you forward. But you need to actually do it, because if I just sit here, I have days when I literally can't get out of bed, and I still have those days. But then I keep telling myself that I need to tap into that little thing, whatever it is in my mind or my life, that will make me, okay, let's go, let's do something. And then I take that step forward and it feels amazing.
Wow, thank
So
you.
yeah.
Yeah, it sounds very, very interesting, because I mean, I think a lot of us go through whatever in our lives, and each story basically inspires another. And I'm sure with your story, it's very unique. And I mean, I've watched movies like this, but I never met someone that actually went through it. I know there's a saying that our life on this material planet is a movie on its own, but when you meet someone that actually walked that path, it's actually a wow moment. So thank you so much for being so brave, for taking the step and sharing your life with us through this platform. We really appreciate you being here. So can you tell us what values were instilled in you as a child? Can you just give us, maybe there's more, maybe there's less, but something that can actually, we can also be inspired by?
So I've been thinking about this one, because a value to me, a value means something that adds to my life positively and not takes away from it. So I wanted to come up with something like that. And the only thing I could remember was that my adopted mother, she told me once that education is pretty much the only thing in your life that no one can ever take away from you. And in all my struggles, I think that's why I keep educating. I'm a horse trainer. I grew up competing with horses, and so that was that part of my life. And then I did my filmmaking studies and photography, and I became a yoga leader. And I also studied to take care of children, childcare. I keep wanting to learn and I've done a journalism course as well. I just feel that that's my thing, that I can hold on to, the one thing that I really got that was so positive. And in these dark times, you have to hold on to that. Don't ever let go to that, because that will keep you going.
That's very inspiring.
Oh,
I'm sure you can give me a lot of tips. You're a filmmaker. I'm actually getting into media right now. You're a journalist. You can also give me that. Anywhere that I'm actually lacking, you can teach me. So thank you. Could you share some of your challenges that you experienced?
Yes. So I try to put these down just kind of clearly, the kind of steps. So the biggest challenge that I concentrate on here is the transracial adoption. So transracial adoption is when a couple or a person from one race adopts a child from a different race or culture. And so that it's very problematic. I don't feel that that is black and white, and that's a whole other topic to talk about, and there's so much problems in that. And so that's my first thing that happened to me that was part of my challenges. The next challenges was to get through my childhood and my teens, unlearning being Indian and learning being Swedish. I actually have tapes from when I was little. My mom would talk to me and she keeps telling me, stop speaking Hindi, stop. We're in Sweden now. And I wouldn't really listen to my name because that wasn't really my name. And just kind of unlearning. I can't remember much of that. I think that's the trauma. And most people can remember things from when they were little. I can remember very little from that. And then I would say the next hurdle was when I finished school. I didn't really know what to do with myself. I was competing at a national level, a high national level with my horses, and it's not a life that I really wanted to go into professionally. And so I applied to be an au pair in America. I went to Cape Cod, and that changed my life completely. I was stepped out of my comfort zone, and I felt America was so welcoming to me. And yeah, it was an amazing step for me. The next big step was for me when I decided to come to Scotland. It was in the end of the summer, and my uncle was always very racist to me. I can just remember him saying racist stuff to me. And he was quite drunk, and we were in a field, and he yelled at me and told me to go back to my own country and stuff I don't even want to repeat. And that's when I decided I don't want to live anymore. I've had these thoughts before, and I've been there, and it's really hard when you don't have another person to pull you out of that, because sometimes you're not strong enough to. It's heavy, so heavy. And I'm so lucky. I owe my life to this woman. She knows who she is, and I don't want to get her into trouble with people, so I won't tell her who she is, but she helped me buy this one-way ticket to Scotland. And I chose Scotland because we speak English here, and I didn't know much about Scotland. And for me, that was an easy transition to move somewhere where we speak English. I didn't have to worry about work visas and stuff like that. So that was a huge step in my life as well. And then another step was I studied filmmaking in the UK, and part of institutional racism is something that's been a big part of my life, unfortunately. And because of that, I didn't continue my 4th year of uni studies. I only did my 3 years, so I got my BA. And it took me several years to recover from that, from people keep putting me down, teachers putting me down, to apply to do my dream to New York Film Academy in America. And I got in first try, and that really lifted me up. And I also got accepted to Tisch, the art school in New York. And that completely put me that huge step forward, where I felt like I got validated as a filmmaker. Then the biggest hurdle was to get funding. I was over 30, so I couldn't get grants, and I wasn't born in Sweden, so I couldn't get any funding from there, and I wasn't a UK citizen, so I couldn't get funding here. And I did ask my dad for help, but I didn't get a reply. And I didn't accept defeat, but my husband has been the biggest supporter in my life, and he basically said, you got validation for the stuff that I sent in. They obviously saw something, and for me that just shows I'm not going to give up on this. It just what I'm trying to show here is that for certain people to say, I've heard this my whole life, you can get there if you put the work in, that's not true for everyone. Some people, we all have our difficulties. As being human, it's not easy. But some people have the added bit then to be a person of color. So we have this whole thing that works against us, unfortunately. Sometimes you get lucky, other times you don't, but you just have to try not to let it get you down. Like, just go out and scream as loud as you can and be really angry, and then kind of let it go. And my last step was when I found yoga a couple of years ago, and just recently I've learned so much about, I joined this anti-racism education page on Facebook, and that's completely changed my life. I joined there, I think it was in August, and I've learned so much about myself. I've now started a process of writing down material to collect material for as a guide for yoga teachers and yogis to decolonize their yoga practice. And for me, that feels like I'm decolonizing myself at the same time. And I'm finding this Indian part of me that I grieve this part of me, and I feel more angry now than I ever have. But I feel proud to be Indian as well. That's amazing to be able to say.
Yeah, wow. That's actually quite a story. And I actually felt your pain through everything that you were just mentioning right now. And I'm actually quite sorry that you had to go through something like that. But at the same time, if you never went through that, you would not have found your strength. And through that strength, you are now putting yourself out there to educate the world. And like you said, the challenges that you actually went through, especially with the transracial adoption. A lot of people, white people, they actually, when they adopt, they like to adopt children of other races. I'm not sure why it is, but I'm actually not white, so I can't really tell you what it is. Maybe I can get someone on our live stream one day for telling us that maybe.
I've actually read into this, and there is an amazing documentary. I will put that in your link.
Okay.
It's only in Swedish, I'm afraid. I'm so sorry, but it's so good. I think it's called The Forgotten, but it's basically about people who were adopted in the 70s, who were the first generation of people who were transracially adopted. And it's I've done a lot of reading about it as well, and it's a lot to do with white privilege and wanting to basically have this child. I heard this myself growing up. Look at this child that I saved. And it's kind of like, you're a token. You're not really a person, you're a token. Look what I did. Look what I saved. And it's really degrading to be a token to someone like that. And that was your life, that was your upbringing, to be this token to someone.
Wow. I'm actually lost for words. It's it's actually something that you have to go through. And but I'm just very grateful that you took this step to educate all of us. And that is why I'm actually doing these live streams, to bring awareness and also to change people's mindset or how they treat others. Because sometimes when people treat another person bad, they don't think about the other person, they think about themselves mostly, and they don't know what harm they are doing to another person. And
I mean adopting is actually more selfish than it is actually helping that person, because you're doing it because you want the child. You're not really doing it for any other reason. So you're, I mean, I don't know how to explain it, but it is a kind of a selfish act, because you want a child, and so you want something, so this is what you do.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, yeah, it's a really hard subject.
I think it is very difficult, because I mean, I do know personally of children that were adopted when they were children, and now they're adults. I'm sure as a child that went through it, they feel like the adoptive parents are selfish, but sometimes these people just want to give out love, because there's so much of abuse out there, especially in children's homes. These children don't feel loved by the caregivers, because there's so many of them, and that is why, well, the people that I know personally that adopted children, and some of these children actually have very good lives right now. It's very unfortunate.
I really do want to add to what you say.
Yeah.
Not all adoptions are like this. I'm talking about transracial.
Okay.
I've heard a lot about Indian people adopting Indian children, and the problem, that's not the problem at all. I think that's beautiful to do, but it's just that thing. These white people who adopt, they don't go through any education or learning on how to take care of a child who's colored, or how to raise a colored child, which is difficult if you haven't gone through life being colored yourself. It's really difficult to raise a child that way. So that's why I'm not against adoption. It's just transracial adoption.
Thank you so much for that.
Very problematic.
Thank you. Because sometimes certain words do get misconstrued, and
absolutely,
I don't want my audience to think anything like that. So but thanks. Also, what would you say was the turning point in your life?
The biggest turning point that's been in my life so far was when I took the step to move to Scotland. It was truly life-changing for me, and everything that's come after that wouldn't have happened if I chose that. I don't think any day goes by when I think about what would have happened to the people around me if I would have taken my life. It's one of those things that you don't really think about at the time, but the people that do really love you and care about you, it's really terrible for them. And it doesn't have to be the way out. You have to find that, like I said before, you have to find that for you, even if it's just a tiny little hope that you have to get out and to do something to change your life a little bit. Just such a thing as if you feel stuck in your life, walking to work, maybe take a different route. maybe just take a different route to work one day, and maybe expand on that, maybe leave even earlier and take an even longer route. Or maybe pick up a book. Maybe you always read sci-fi, maybe pick up something different, fiction, or you watch horror films all the time, maybe watch a documentary. Maybe do something different. And also something that's really helped me is my filmmaking. I'm making a documentary about this, and it has been in the making for a while, because it's such a heavy topic for me that I have to work on it and then put it aside. I've also started to write the book to go with the film, because they're completely different medias, and there's so much more you can say in a book that you can't say in a documentary. And the documentary, I will go back to India for the first time since I was adopted.
Wow.
So yeah.
Very nice, very nice. So when you are when you come to the point where you're launching your book and your documentary, please share that with us. It will be very nice for our audience to get to view it. And I'm so grateful that you are here first, sharing this with us before you become very famous. So there's also something positive that comes out of the whole situation that you've been through your whole experience. Yeah.
Really.
So do have a lot of people watching already, and they are sharing um, their thoughts with us and congratulations with us, and also questions. We will go through all of that. I'm not sure whether you want to go through it now or you just want to go through our discussion. What do you think?
Maybe take a break and do the questions.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Being spontaneous.
Yes.
Okay, I've got a question from Malini. She's asking, were you bullied at school and how did it affect you?
This is such a common question that I actually get. And no, I had the most amazing classmates. I was never picked on for anything. About anything. The most of the picking on I got was from my parents about my behavior and my eyebrows being bushy, just kind of these kind of things that people make fun of, that is really hurtful, especially if you're a child or a teenager. But that affected me really badly because my self-confidence has been terrible. I hardly have any eyebrows because I've plucked them to death. And I never had my hair loose. I used to always just tie it back as tight as I could so no one could ever see my hair. And they used to make fun of my feet that had really long toes. So I hated getting my feet out until I started doing yoga. And where is self-acceptance is a big part of that for me. And yeah, so that's how I worked through that. Thank you so much for your question. It's a really good question.
Yeah, again, I'm going to keep on congratulating you and also thanking you for doing this. And you know what, another thing is, I always say as children we actually molded into the beings that we are today, whether it was actually good or bad. And if it was bad, how you actually took it at that time as a child, because your mind is very different to what it is as an adult. And as an adult, or as you're going along, I mean, growing up into the adolescent to adult, you actually choose your association. And sometimes it's very difficult to choose your association when you're a child or an adolescent, because you still, you actually need the people that are in your life, like your parents and things like that.
I think because I'm so sorry. I think because of that, it was even harder because it was someone in your close infinity or in a space where you're supposed to feel safe.
Yes.
So I didn't actually recognize any of this until recently.
Wow.
And the last couple of years, that this is why I did this, and this is why I hide my feet, and this is why I do certain things. So I didn't actually realize these things until how much they affected me until recently.
Yeah, well, another thing is because you're actually practicing yoga, and with yoga we learn to become more aware of ourselves and also our surroundings. So you're actually taking that into practice, and you are becoming aware, which is very good. Like I was saying about kids, I always try to, that is why I'm doing all of these topics, to help adults to become more aware how they treat each other, including children. Children are young, their minds are very, very different, and they don't know how to react because they're in need of you. And that's why we need to be more loving and more nurturing to them, because they are going to be adults one day and they will think back what this person did to me. And I just pray that all children that are going through something very difficult right now, they do find some sort of help whilst they're growing. And as soon as they become adults, if they actually been abused as children, I pray that they do get some sort of healing or find healing. There's many, many ways, and there's help out there if you're going through something. So what are the signs of victim mentality? What would you say?
So signs of victim mentality, it's a lot of self-blame, self-doubt, not have much oh, I can't find the words here. I did write them down. So identity issues, self-doubt, self-blame, anxiety, because of all those things, you can also actually, it can show physically. I for example, have IBS, which is to do with stress and trauma, and I have psoriasis as well, which is also stress related, and it can show itself in many different ways, but that's the ones that I found.
Okay, are you sorry? Do you have anything else to add to that?
Well, yeah, I actually had something that was really interesting, because I spoke to my husband today about the fact that I find it very hard to leave my house. I'm very anxious about leaving my house. I've always been like that. Even when we move, I've lived here for a couple of months now. I don't really feel safe here. It's not the people around me, it's how I feel inside. And he told me something. Let me see. I'm sorry, 2 seconds.
No, it's fine.
So he told me that resettled refugees, so refugees that's come from another country, who are obviously left their country because they can't stay, because of one reason or another, usually because of war. They find it really hard to leave their homes, their new homes, because of the trauma of losing what they thought was a safe space. And I hearing that, I think that's what happened to me, because I was a few years old when I was adopted, so I was already settled in the hospital where I grew up in India, so I had a really safe space. I have photos from them, and when I was really happy, and I looked like I felt really safe there. And then to move somewhere, I think that big trauma has made it, I don't feel safe at leaving my house. I don't feel safe stepping out into the world. It's actually to the point some days I have to go for pee 5 times before I leave. It's just this anxiety that builds up inside you, and I keep thinking to myself, do I actually have to leave? Do I have to go? Is there any reason that I can give that I don't have to leave? But yeah, I think that's something that I've really been thinking about since he told me. That really resonates.
Wow, thank you. It's actually very interesting. I'm actually very, very glued to everything that you're saying, because I'm actually learning as you speak. Also, we nearly coming to the end. Can you believe it? Time has really flown very fast again. What would you say? What advice would you give us? How does one break the victim mentality?
I would say, to break the cycle, when I was a child, I was always known to be, I've actually, part of my documentary, I've gone back to Sweden and spoken to an ex-boyfriend and spoken to people that was there for me when I grew up, and asking them how they perceived me. And they all said, oh my God, you were always smiling and you were always laughing. And then I was thinking, wow, I was dying inside and you had no idea. And that's really taught me to, I want to stress this, that's not being fake, that's masking your trauma. So I was actually masking how I was actually feeling, because you don't constantly want someone, how are you doing? How are you feeling? That's harder, to be honest. So I would say something that I'm really bad for doing, running away. I'm terrible for it. I left for America when my boyfriend broke up with me because I couldn't deal with it, and the trauma from living at home was enough. It's been my whole life. I just keep running and running until I came to Scotland, and I met my husband after 1 year of being here, and we got married the year after that we met. And I think that he's very rooted here. He's got his parents here. They're lovely, and we're very connected to them, and we're very connected to where we are. So that makes it harder for me to run away, which is a good thing. And this thing that you find yourself that you do that can be negative in times of stress, identify it and accept that that's what you do. But then think, how can I change that? How can I make it better? How can I make something more comfortable for myself? And another thing, don't ignore how you're feeling. And there's no shame in feeling down. There's no shame in feeling anything. Feeling sad, feeling sorry for yourself, having suicidal thoughts, having any thoughts at all. There's no shame. You never have to be ashamed of that. I'm not going to say that we all go through that, because we don't, but face it. I'm learning so much about anti-racism and decolonizing yoga, because those are huge parts of my life and has been my whole life. So I find education is my to unblock myself. So maybe you do that. Maybe you try, if there's something you're really stressed about or scared of, educate yourself on it. Internet is amazing, which wasn't around when I was younger, by the way. So, but you're so spoiled, and just ask people. Like these kind of podcasts are amazing for people to reach out and find support. And please reach out, and if you have any questions or want to even just have a chat, I'm always here for a video chat, or even like message each other and say, oh, I'm really down today, let's have a chat and let's talk about it. Let's not close the door.
Thank you so much for this. It's actually been such an informative discussion. I am going to go back onto my the comments on the stream just to check.
Nice.
So the response from the lady that actually asked that question about bullying, Malini says, thank you for sharing your experience. You are so strong to have endured that from your parents. Sending you lots of love.
Oh, beautiful. Sending you lots of love back.
And I've got something from Vyali Nagia Chiksoli. She says, great topic. Thanks to the speaker for opening up and sharing.
Oh, thank you so much for listening.
Yeah. So those are just a few people. And can you please, guys, if you are still on, please share this live stream across your social platforms. As our speaker Naomi just mentioned, it'll be very nice for people to actually use these sort of talks just to help them to go, whatever they're going through, they can get some help through this. To hear something, a loving word, or something that where someone actually went through and overcame it, can inspire another. I will be editing this live stream and uploading it on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed as yet, you just can look for Mindful Trinity and subscribe. And I will also upload it onto my podcast. I'm still working on all these different platforms. Bear with me, be patient, and I will definitely be there soon. Also, just to recap everything from today's discussion with Naomi, before I actually recap, if Naomi has anything further to add to our discussion?
No, I think that was everything. I just want to say that thank you so much for being such a good host. I was really nervous. I've never shared this. I'm still really nervous about family and friends hearing this, because I've never shared this before like this. But thank you so much for being so supportive.
Yeah, well, I'm very grateful that you actually use this platform to share all of that. This is actually something very new for me as well. And all of the different topics and the different flavors of people that I'm actually getting to host on my show, it's very inspiring to me as well, because as they grow, I grow, and we all help society to grow together and heal together. And that's my goal in life. So, okay, just to recap, I tried to take down notes as I mentioned earlier. You mentioned that education, no one can ever take away from you, and that was the words of your mom. You also mentioned some of the challenges. I'm not going to go through all of the challenges, but there was quite a few, and you use those challenges to. It's like stepping stones, stepping to where you are right now, and that's amazing. So moving to Scotland was the turning point in your life, amongst other things, but that was the first step that you took. And you also mentioned what self-blame, self-doubt, anxiety issues, and identity issues were some of the signs of the victim mentality. And you ended off by saying how one can break away from that victim mentality. Don't run away. And a lot of us do run away from our problems thinking it'll be better on the other side. It's like getting a new job. If you have problems in your current job, work situation, you think it'll be better on the other side, like the grass is always greener on the other side, but it's always not that case. You have to, I also heard the saying many times, you need to water the grass where you are right now, and then it'll become greener. So with your experience, you actually taught us that. And don't ignore. Some of us also, we brush everything under the carpet. And that is why, there's also another reason why I'm actually doing these talks, because just to create more awareness. Things that are actually staring us in the face, we tend to brush it under the carpet, thinking it will not affect us. It may not affect you now, but at a later stage, it does affect you if you do not learn from it. There's always something to educate you through that. There's always something positive that you can also take away from it. And there's no shame in feeling down. And that's also very nice, because a lot of us, we actually very scared to show emotion, especially in public, thinking what the next person will think about you. But I also learned on this material planet, a lot of us are going through our own battles. And by sharing our stories on this platform, especially, it's not about feeling sorry for ourselves, because there's always a solution for everything that we go through. Like you also mentioned, you moved away from the victim mentality into something more positive, into the victor mentality. And like I said, there's always challenges. Every step that we take, there's always challenges, but what you make of it, what you learn from it. Face your challenges. I like that, because a lot of us also hide from it. And by facing it, we actually become stronger. And also, yes, with also that being said, you need to choose your battles, because some of these battles are pointless in fighting. It actually drains you. So I'm actually very grateful to you, Naomi, for taking this step and coming onto our live stream, our show today, to educate the masses that are watching. And I'm sure there will be others watching afterwards. So to our audience, if you are going to be watching the replay, please hashtag replay and also share it across your channels. Like I said, I'm going to be uploading it onto YouTube at a later stage. I'm still working on that, but you can join my YouTube channel, and at least then when it is uploaded, you have the edited version. Everything will still be the same. Nothing will be changed, just that I'll be editing the first half of it, where we are actually having our private talk, Naomi and I. And yeah, so that's the recap for today. And also, if you have any further questions, I'm just going to go check, because I think today we've been very proactive with the questions. Okay. I don't see any questions here. I'm just going to go check again. Okay, there's nothing here. Okay, I don't see anything, but anyway, I've asked Naomi to actually go onto our live stream afterwards to check whether she can answer anything. Hopefully she will. And also, Naomi, can you actually give our audience some sort of knowledge? What tools have you used, or something that has helped you during the course of your journey?
So my biggest tool that I've used is writing. So when I moved to Sweden, when I was adopted, one of the languages that I spoke was English. So I already spoke English when I moved there, and that's the language I've been writing in. And I basically just write a few pages, and then I read it, and then I throw it out. When I feel I'm ready to throw it out, sometimes I'll keep it in my drawer for months, maybe years, or even just weeks, take it out and read it again. And just, it's a kind of a way for me to bit by bit letting it go, not without holding on to it. With yoga, I found that it's such a hard thing to be with yourself, to sit with yourself in your own space. It's quiet, there's no one around. I practice a lot by myself for that reason, because there's no one around, and you can let yourself get immersed in it, in your meditation, in your practice, go into the poses that you feel works for you at that time. I have a yoga channel, a Patreon page, and I'll share that in the comments as well. And a lot of the practices that I offer is a lot of restorative. It's a lot of restorative yoga, a lot of meditations, which I record. So I find a lot of Western yoga is more, you find yourself judging yourself, because I can't bend as much as that person can. So if you take the visual away, you can't see me, then you can see what I do, and you can get into the pose the way you do. And that's why I've had really good feedback on that, and that's what I do. There's a lot of resources there for poses and stuff like that as well. And so you can basically pick and choose. The lengths are from 10 minutes to an hour. So you can just take it with you in your handbag, put your headphones in, and listen to it in the car or on the bus or when you walk. And I think yoga, that's what yoga is to me. It's available whenever you need it. I even listen to my own meditation sometimes if I'm out driving for a while. I put that on just to connect again. Yeah.
Thank you. That's actually very helpful. And I'm sure our audience will also appreciate that. Can you share some of your social links? You actually mentioned that you will be sharing it on the comment section, so that will be very good. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So my yoga page is Nakam Yoga, Nakam. So that's just my name, Naomi Anna Kamla Archana, and then Mackay. And I put that together. If you do want to follow my page for the documentary film, I'll share that as well. I have a page, it's called Mera Safar, and I've already shared a lot about my upbringing. There's a lot of stuff still that I haven't told you that will be brought up. So yeah.
So maybe at a later stage when you're launching, we can actually get you on here again, since you actually came here.
Yeah, I would absolutely love that.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Also, do you have any parting thoughts for our audience?
Yes, there's one that I thought about before. I feel I was talking about grief. I grieve the culture that I never got to experience. I'm so envious of anyone who grew up with their Indian parents or in India, getting to get this culture. I really grieve that. And something that I really miss is this girl who was only a few years old in India, dancing and singing. And a lot of times I've stopped myself and I thought, I could do with you right now. I could do with your courage and with your positivity, and especially the courage. And sorry, so what I'm trying to say is that try not to let anyone tell you that you are something that you're not. And try not to let anyone put you down. I know words can be really hurtful more than anything else. But try to find yourself and your identity of who you are. And once you find that, hold on to it. Don't let that go. And that's something that I really grieve that I didn't do. And I wish that for all of you, that you do that. You hold on to who you are and don't let that go, because that's amazing and it's unique and you're amazing.
Okay, apologies for that. We had some technical difficulties on my side.
Okay.
Again, Naomi, I'm actually very grateful that you came on here to share all of your experience. And I know my audience are also sharing the same sentiments. It's been very informative, very educational for me as well. And yeah, as I mentioned during our discussion, it'll be nice to have you on again. You will be, I'm sure. You can actually tell us. You'll basically keep us in the loop of your documentary when it's coming out, and of the book and all of that. So I'm
Yes.
very, very excited to actually read it and even watch the documentary.
Thank you.
Yeah. So do you have any parting thoughts? Did I ask you that? I'm not even sure.
I think that was my parting thought.
Was we actually,
but
yeah, we actually talking so much, and I'm getting so engrossed into this that I'm actually even losing track of everything. So wow.
that's okay.
Yeah. Okay, we will part our ways now, but we'll still be connected. I do have you. I'm very, very fortunate to have that connection with you, and we'll keep in contact as the months go. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, and to our audience, thank you so much for listening in. Please stay tuned to our page if you haven't joined us yet, because I know I did share this link of our talk onto all my social platforms. So please do engage with us. Don't be shy. It's always nice to actually step out of your comfort, like we just was talking about today. And yeah, we will be having lots of interesting speakers sharing their life with us um, through this medium. So looking forward to speaking to them and to engaging with you. So our next speaker, I will actually share more about her during the course of the week. And yeah, but thank you again for listening in, and we will talk again. Thanks. Bye-bye.